All right, welcome back to the third day in the series of moving from languishing and lostness to living a good, gay, meaningful life. I'm Dr. Dave, if I haven't met you before, and I'm the founder of the Good Life Lab, which is kind of where we experiment and explore with tools, tips, and techniques for living a better, more meaningful life. I'm a therapist, college professor, turned YouTuber and content creator, and wanting to share out of my own experience of periods of depression and even suicidality throughout my life to living, I think, what is a much happier, more peaceful, more meaningful life. If you're just joining me or you're seeing this for the first time, I would start with the first video in the series. So this is the third video in the series, and I'm going to be outlining the first letter of what I've called the compass, and trying to determine the direction of your life. Each letter stands for a different word or different part of this journey, and so I'm starting with the first part of this system, which stands for clues and coordinating points in your life. So I started to get into this last video, but let me give you a little more depth about what C stands for. It's really this mindset shift that I've seen in my own life. I mentioned some time ago I met a friend over lunch, over coffee, and he asked me the question, where are the breadcrumbs leading you? And although that's somewhat of a common phrase, I never had it put to me in that way. It's like, where's life leading you? Where are the clues in life leading you? And so I've adopted that framework for myself and begin to live my life with that in mind. And it's really changed things. Like I said, it's a mindset, but these clues and coordinating points, they're like synchronicities that we all have, or nudges that we feel. A lot of times I'll feel like compelled to talk to somebody or to do something, and it's just an intuition or a nudge in my heart. And the more I listen to that, the more I'm connected to something greater than myself. Maybe the universe or God, depending on how you see things, that's calling you to do something, to reach out to somebody, to have a conversation with somebody about something, to read a book, to even watch a movie, to take time to not do anything. So those little nudges, the more we listen to them, the more they can provide guidance for us and leading us to something that's maybe more meaningful. Dimension of this idea of clues and coordinating points is that it connects us to something greater than ourselves. Whether you're spiritual or have a faith background or an atheist, I think this is really important to have this frame of mind. Many of you have heard of my channel here that I've been through this spiritual journey. I was kind of a nominal Christian. I believed in God growing up, went to college, became an evangelical born-again Christian, very conservative for really 20 years. I went to seminary for 6 years, was planning a full-time ministry, was a pastor for a while, worked in a Christian college environment for a long time. And then being gay all that time and trying not to be or trying to change, that led me to eventually being on this journey of trying to come out, which meant I had to let go of my faith for a while. So I became an atheist for a number of years, maybe 10 years. And then I think I've moved more towards agnosticism or just being curious about what's next. I'm open to whatever might be out there and learning about that. I don't have any animosity towards anything that I've kind of been through. But regardless, along that journey, I've been able to, whether it's as a Christian where I prayed and listened to God's voice or tried to kind of figure out what God was telling me, to where I'm now kind of spiritually minded, but also try to have or appreciate transcendent experiences. And for me, that's walking out in nature, being in nature, hiking, playing out in nature. That's where I feel like I'm connected to something greater. But also having this mindset of following clues in life, that connects me to something greater as well. Like the universe or life is trying to speak to me in some way. Being open to that mindset, that awareness, for me, connects me to something greater than myself. So I've often talked about following breadcrumb clues as being open to messages in everyday events, which could be conversations with people, somebody you see in the line at Kroger grocery store. Like I mentioned earlier, just feeling a sense of a pull that you have to have a conversation with somebody, or you're reminded of somebody and give them a call. I've had that happen several times where I'm thinking about somebody, I call them and it's like, oh, I was thinking about you. So it's those kind of synchronicities in life that it's important to pay attention to that. Just to reinforce, kind of off track a little bit, but I think you can be more in tune with things if you can develop a habit of not engaging with media. I think media, our phones, having constant access to whatever we want 24 hours a day, in some ways distracts us from really being in touch with ourselves, what's important to us, what life is calling us to do. So during those 30 minutes, at least, that I've encouraged you to set aside for each day, maybe use that as a time to also disconnect from any kind of media and spend time in nature or someplace that you feel connected to something greater. So let me just remind you again that this first part of Compass is a mindset shift, clues and coordinating points. So seeing the things that happen in life as messages perhaps, or clues that may be calling you in a certain direction. And as you develop that mindset, that's really kind of an underpinning, a foundation to the rest of the work we do. Clues can be data points for you to be very mindful of or reinforce what you're thinking if you're paying attention to all that life has for you. And when you pay attention to these clues, they can provide a direction. Maybe it's a little bit of direction, but the more you tune into them, maybe the more clear those directions will be. And if we ignore those clues, those nudgings to our heart in a certain direction, the more we might become adrift. So it's really important to begin to develop this practice of being mindful of the clues that life has for us. So this isn't woohoo manifestations, voodoo experience where we're tuning into this weird, quirky spiritual practice. It's actually awareness science. Your brain actually filters what you notice based on what you value and focus on the most. When you set your mind and intention to find breadcrumbs and clues to your next steps in life, you're going to likely find them. I gave this short example last time of how this worked for me. I was at 45 in a depressed state, and I'd been trying to come out, which meant I lost my faith community. They weren't okay with me being gay, and I had started dating, but I wasn't finding much success. Dating for the first time in my 40s and dating men, something I'd never done before. And I had resigned from my job because I was outed and felt like that was the best thing to do, working in a conservative community. And also, so I lost my job and also my faith. So these three areas that I set these core intentions around. But the heart of it all was just being open to the messages in everyday events, like I've said. That was the shift for me, is really trying to just find greater happiness and letting life speak to me. It took me that year, really took 2 years to see those three intentions come true. And I eventually found a partner in life. I've been together with him for 13 years. I went back into higher education and achieved a lot more success than I had before, became full professor and became vice president of a director of behavioral sciences, published a lot of articles. And then my faith, I think I made peace with my faith. My peace came from being an atheist and resolving that for myself for that period of time. But those intentions came out of this desire to just listen for what life had to tell me and being willing to follow those signs and breadcrumb clues wherever life might lead me. I've developed this practice over time, but there are times I'm more intentional about being open to what life is trying to speak to me. I think I've cultivated an overall mindset around it, but I think it could be more intentional too at times. When I am more intentional, I find that life is more interesting. It's maybe more challenging at times, but I also feel connected to something greater and being led by something greater. So, and just generally happier with life and myself, the more I can lean into this idea that life has clues for me. All right, we're at the point of a practice for today, for day 3. Tonight before you go to bed, I want you to write down in your journal or digital document one breadcrumb clue that you think you noticed over the last day or maybe week. It could be a synchronicity, something that happened. You're like, oh, that's interesting. That happened 2 or 3 times in my life this last week. I need to pay attention to that. It could be a nudge you felt to call somebody or to be nice to a cashier or to confront a friend. Those are also clues, breadcrumb clues. And then also the passions that you have. Write down at least one of those breadcrumb clues that are significant or stand out to you as you think about it and how they might contribute to where you want to go next with your life. As you're adding to your life list, that list of ideas and dreams and passions that you have, look at that again. I don't know if you have enough items, but as you would develop a fuller list, a more full list, I want you to see if there are any connections or themes that are emerging that you can identify at this point and also moving forward. So hopefully you can freely jot things, ideas down that you have that come up on your life list, but then also over time begin to see and look for themes that are popping up within that list as well. All right, that ends our first 3 days of this Compass GLPS system that I'm trying to introduce to you today. On day 4 of this series, I'll be talking about the O in Compass, which stands for Origin Story and Heroic Journey. It will help you look at your past, your history, and reframe that into a heroic journey for the future. So I will see you next time. Have a great day.